So basically I need to scrape data from this HTML table in here, which is called single currency crosses. And for that I'm going to use beautifulsoup and the requests from the standard library. So the first thing is to set up the environment. I'm going to use Python 3.9. So I'm going to create a virtual environment. And install the necessary packages. So I'm going to import PS4 and it works. And then from URL library I'm going to import URL open and request. I'm going to call this URL to fetch the HTML content. So it's better to define the URL for future uses. And now I'm going to do a call request equals to request and URL in here, and I'm going to try to read the data now, the HTML response. So response equals to URL open request that read, and it says forbidden. HTTP error 403 forbidden. Maybe it has to do with the headers. So I'm going to define some headers. User agent .0 -0 headers. Okay. Now I got another problem. Yesterday I worked with this data and I have a script, so let me check. I'm not doing any mistakes, so I don't understand why it doesn't work. URL open, request, read, URL, headers. Can't concat string to bytes. I'm going to run the script that I have. Okay, the script that I already have works. So I still don't get why my code doesn't work. And I get the same error. I don't get it. So it's better to code the script because I can easily manipulate the data and easily run it, easily find stuff. So I'm going to name it soup hack.py. I'm going to say from PS4 import beautiful soup. Then from URL library data request import. So I'm going to import URL open and request. I'm going to define the URL of the website. and then I'm going to define the headers for the request. So just the user agent. Zeros, whatever. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to do a request on the URL. URL equals to URL, headers equals to headers. Then I'm going to read the response. URL open request that read, and I'm going to print the response. So I think it works. Yes, I got an HTML response. I think the problem is with this line in here. So let's format the code this way without keyword arguments. And let's try to run it. Yes. The problem is with the way that I specify the URL in here on the headers. If I remove the keyword arguments, I'm going to get an error. So headers equals to headers, URL equals to URL. And if I run the script now, I get the HTML response. Okay. So now that I got the HTML response, I'm going to create a parser with beautifulsoup, with a parser in here of type HTML. So HTML parser or bs HTML equals to beautifulsoup response, and then as for the parser, just HTML dot parser. And now I'm going to try to read all the. First, I have to read the table, to find the table in the HTML data, and then I'm going to read all the rows. And since I'm trying to scrape currency data, I'm going to say currencies equals to ps.find. So within this HTML parser, I'm going to find a table by using the tag table body, tbody, and then after I have the table, I have to find all the table rows. But find all table rows. And I'm going to print all these table rows. So let's run it. Name BS is not defined. Okay. So when you script or when you code, it doesn't matter if you have errors. In my opinion, the more errors you have, the better it is, because you learn. And it says non-type object is not callable. I think that this parser is none. Or maybe it doesn't find. I think the problem is with find all because it needs an underscore. Okay, I have the table rows now. So if I copy this and paste it inside an HTML file, I'm going to get all the table rows. Yes, it's a very long data. Let's print only the only 5 rows, I guess. Okay. As you can see, this is a list object, and inside it contains HTML data or strings, and they all start with a tag tr, which stands for table row. So if I open a new terminal and create currencies data.html and create an HTML file in here and pass all the table data body. I'm just going to pass it in here. So if I open this file in the browser, I'm going to get all the table rows. So let me open the file in the browser. No file in here. Well, am I in the right folder? No. Oh, it's just on scraping, not on coder. It doesn't have any root directory except the desktop. So let me open it. As you can see, we have a few columns. And in here I have the table rows rendered. Only a very few of them, because I did some indexing on the list. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. Okay. So what I need now is that I need to get all this data. I mean the data inside the TD tags. I want to fetch it with Python and then convert it to Python objects so I can manipulate it. So after finding the rows, I have to loop over the rows and do a search with beautiful soup based on the TD tag for currency in currencies, which is like saying for row in rows, for row in fetch rows. TD equals to currency that find all, and then based on the TD tag, and then for table data in TDs 1, 2, 3, 4, print td.txt. So let's try to run it. And see what this prints. So Python and soup py. Okay, I need to activate the environment. Yes, I got the data for the first row, the second row, the third, the fourth, and the fifth row. And now I can, the beautiful thing is that now I can have Python objects for this data. So thank you for watching. This was just live scraping raw. I didn't do any preparations. I didn't do any setup. In the next video I'm going to move further with the scraping of this data. So thank you for watching and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos. So bye guys.